Welcome to another deep dive with us. This time, we're going exploring Ghulam Reza Rashidi's Dar Tariqat Ma.
Oh, an excellent choice.
Well, we'll see about that. We're focusing on one specific chapter, dealing with some seriously heavy concepts.
Yeah, perception, reality, the limits of human understanding, all that jazz.
And it's going to be a challenge, let me tell you. But we're going to give it our best shot.
I'm sure we can handle it. Mashidi's writing is really thought-provoking.
It is. He's got a very unique perspective, that's for sure.
For sure. Right from the start, he jumps into this experience of being connected to something infinite.
But he can't quite put it in words.
Right. It's like he's tapped into this knowledge, but it's beyond language. Like, how do you even describe something like that?
It's like a knowing without the words.
Yeah, like you get it, but how do you explain it,
You ever get that feeling? Like you know something deep down, but you just can't articulate it.
Oh, yeah. Totally. I think we've all had those moments, where you feel this truth, this deep understanding, but the words just escape you.
Yeah. Like when you try to explain a dream, it never quite captures the actual feeling.
Exactly. It's like the experience itself is so much richer than anything we can put into words.
And Rashidi really emphasizes that, this struggle to communicate these profound experiences, especially when they challenge the very limits of our language.
Yeah, he makes a great point about the limitations of our minds, too.
Our minds. What do you mean?
Well, he suggests that we're constantly experiencing things that are just beyond our mind's ability to really grasp.
Like our minds are too small to hold it all.
In a way, yeah. He even compares it to seeing lightning, you know? You see the flash, you know what it is, but it happens so fast you can't really process the details,
You just get this quick impression.
Yeah. And he suggests that maybe our minds work in a similar way, catching these glimpses of a much larger reality, but only able to hold on to fragments.
So there's this whole other level of reality out there that we're not even aware of. It's a little unsettling, isn't it?
It can be. He introduces this concept of darkness and light to explain it.
Darkness and light. Sounds a bit ominous.
No, it's not about good and evil or anything like that.
Okay, that's good.
He uses darkness to represent the limited way we typically see things, like our usual way of perceiving the world.
So we're kind of stuck in the dark.
Kind of, yeah. And he suggests that true understanding, which he equates with light, can be so overwhelming that we instinctively kind of shy away from it,
Like it's too much for us to handle.
Exactly. It challenges our comfort zones, forces us to question everything we thought we knew. It can be pretty intense.
I can see how that would be scary almost. We like our comfortable little worldview, even if it's limited.
Right. But then Rashidi also talks about this innate human desire for meaning.
The desire for meaning.
Yeah, he believes this desire is so powerful that it actually shapes reality itself.
Wait, so you're saying our desire to understand actually influences the world around us? That's a pretty bold claim.
It is. And it makes you think, if our desire to understand is that powerful, are we focusing on the right things? Are we avoiding certain truths because they're just too uncomfortable,
Food for thought, for sure. But if these deeper truths are so hard to grasp, let alone explain, how do we even approach them?
That's the paradox Rashidi wrestles with himself, He struggles to put these experiences into words, to really convey what he's encountered.
Because it's beyond language.
Yeah. And he highlights the inherent difficulty of communicating those really complex concepts that go beyond our everyday understanding.
No, it's like, again, that dream analogy,
Yeah.
You try to describe it, but the words just don't quite capture it.
Exactly. He even goes so far as to question whether this kind of profound understanding can be taught at all.
You mean like, can it be passed on from one person to another?
Yeah, that's the question. He seems to think it's possible, but it's also risky.
Risky, how so?
Well, he uses this metaphor of being tied to a pillar, right? The pillar represents our limited perception.
Okay, I'm following.
And then imagine someone just suddenly cuts that tie. You're free, but you're also completely disoriented, thrust into a reality you might not be prepared for.
Whoa, that's a powerful image. So how do we approach this greater reality without, completely losing our minds?
Well, to help us visualize this, Rashidi offers another analogy. He compares our individual consciousness to a container of water within the vast sea.
Okay, I like that image. The container is our limited perspective, but it's still part of something much, much bigger.
Exactly. And then he presents two possibilities for what happens to that container.
Two possibilities. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Either the container is constantly being refilled with fresh awareness, or it completely dissolves into the ocean.
Whoa, which one resonates more with you?
That's a tough question. Maybe we'll have a better idea as we explore more of Rashidi's insights. But first, let's talk about this interesting concept he introduces: listening as a way of perceiving reality.
Listening. I'm guessing he's not just talking about our ears, right?
You got it. He's talking about a much deeper kind of knowing, almost like remembering something that's always been there, but buried deep down.
Like a forgotten truth resurfacing.
Exactly. And it's about being open to those insights that come from within, beyond our normal senses.
I like that. So it's about tuning in to a different frequency, picking up signals we usually miss.
You could say that. And it leads to one of the most fascinating parts of the chapter, where Rashidi describes perceiving 3 distinct sounds, but not with his ears.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Sounds that aren't sounds. How does that work?
He describes them as a buzzing, a sucking, and a rhythmic pounding.
A buzzing, a sucking, and a pounding. Sounds a bit like a broken washing machine.
Maybe, huh? But he emphasizes that these aren't auditory experiences, but rather shifts in awareness, like sensing changes in the very fabric of reality itself.
It's like he's tapping into some kind of cosmic symphony, but one you feel rather than hear.
That's a great way to put it. What could these sounds represent? Are they metaphors for different states of consciousness, or something even more literal? Maybe pointing to dimensions beyond our current understanding? It's definitely something to ponder.
This is getting pretty mind-bending. We've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive into Dartaryat Ma. From the limits of perception to darkness and light, and now these non-auditory sounds, my head is buzzing with new ideas.
Mine too. It's clear that Rashidi's offering us a whole new way of looking at reality, but we've only just scratched the surface.
I'm ready for more. Let's take a moment to process all of this before we dive even deeper into Rashidi's fascinating insights. Okay, so these sounds, this deeper listening, it's all pretty wild, right? But then Rashidi throws in another curveball, the dark zone and the light zone.
Yeah, those names are pretty intense.
They kind of make me think of some, like, epic cosmic battle between good and evil.
Huh, I can see that. But it's not really about that. It's more nuanced, like different realms of existence, you know?
Different realms. Okay, so not good versus evil, but more like, different dimensions.
Yeah, something like that. He describes the dark zone as this vast, unknowable realm. Like, it surrounds and encompasses everything.
Everything. That's a big claim.
It is. And it's beyond our comprehension. It's pure potentiality, you know?
Potentiality. Like, anything is possible there.
Yeah, exactly. Like a blank canvas before the painting begins, full of possibilities, but nothing defined yet.
I like that image, the blank canvas. So where does the light zone fit into all this?
Well, the light zone is where our reality exists, like everything we know and experience.
Our whole universe is the light zone.
That's what he suggests. He even says the light zone, our entire universe, is like a tiny spark in the vastness of the dark zone. It's kind of humbling when you think about it.
It really is. It makes you feel pretty small.
Yeah.
But if they're different realms, do they have different rules? Like, do things work differently in each zone?
That's exactly what Rashidi suggests. He says that time, as we understand it, only exists within the light zone.
What? No time in the dark zone. Yeah. So it's just like frozen. Everything's happening at once.
Not exactly frozen, more like timeless. You know, no past, no future, just an eternal present.
Whoa, that's hard to even imagine. But how can something be timeless? Doesn't everything have a beginning and an end?
Maybe not in the dark zone. He even describes time as moving incredibly fast in the light zone, like super sped up compared to the stillness of the dark zone.
So our whole existence, everything that's ever happened, could be just a blink of an eye in the dark zone.
That's what he seems to be saying. It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is. It makes you wonder if our reality is just this blip in the grand scheme of things. Does that mean our lives are insignificant? Like, what's the point of it all if it's just going to disappear in a flash?
That's a big question. And honestly, Rashidi doesn't really offer a simple answer. I think he's more interested in expanding our awareness than giving us a definitive answer.
So it's not about finding the right answer, but more about asking the right questions.
Exactly. It's about pushing the boundaries of our thinking, challenging our assumptions about reality.
I can definitely get behind that. But it's still hard to wrap my head around this whole dark zone, light zone thing. It's so abstract.
I know. He does use a really interesting metaphor to try to illustrate it, though. He talks about smoke, light, and holes.
Smoke, light, and holes. Okay, that sounds kind of trippy. How does that explain different realms of existence?
Imagine, he says, the creation of our universe as a process of emerging from and returning to a state we just can't comprehend, beyond our understanding. picture like smoke billowing, light breaking through, holes appearing and disappearing.
Okay, I can kind of see it. It's very mysterious. But how does that connect to the dark zone and the light zone?
Well, he says the light in this metaphor represents awareness, and this awareness creates everything we experience. The laws of physics, the structure of reality, all of it.
So consciousness awareness is what makes reality real.
That's what he seems to be suggesting. It's like, what if the laws of physics aren't just arbitrary rules, but expressions of consciousness itself?
Whoa, that's a lot of process. So reality isn't as fixed and objective as we tend to think. It's more like shaped by awareness.
It's a radical idea, isn't it? It really challenges the way we normally think about reality. But Rashidi doesn't stop there. He goes on to outline how he thinks consciousness has evolved over time.
Oh, now that's something I'm really interested in. Like the big picture. How did we get from the Big Bang to, us sitting here talking about consciousness?
He describes it as a progression from the simplest elements to increasing complexity. He talks about the emergence of life, the development of more complex organisms, and then ultimately humans with our self-awareness and language.
So we're like the peak of consciousness, at least so far. The universe becoming aware of itself through us.
That's essentially what he's suggesting. He says humans are a unique expression of this universal consciousness, able to reflect on the very process that brought us into being.
That's amazing. But also kind of a heavy responsibility. Like, if we're the product of this universal consciousness, what are we supposed to do with that? What's our role in all of this?
That's a big question, isn't it? And it's one that Rashidi leaves open for us to explore. He gives us this incredible framework, this new way of seeing reality, and now it's up to us to wrestle with the implications.
It's like he's given us a map, but it's up to us to choose where to go.
Exactly. So what do you think? Where does this all lead us? What resonates with you most from this whole journey so far?
Wow, this deep dive into Dartariat has been a wild ride. From the limits of perception to the dark zone and light zone, the evolution of consciousness, these non-auditory sounds. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. Rashidi packs so much into this one chapter. It's incredible.
I know, right? What's been the most impactful for you? What really stood out?
That's a tough one. I think the idea that our perception is so limited, that really hit home for me.
Yeah, that analogy of the container of water within the vast sea.
Exactly. It's a powerful image and a good reminder that what we experience is just a tiny fraction of what's actually out there.
Like we're looking through a keyhole and thinking we're seeing the whole world.
Exactly. And it ties back to that concept of listening as a way of knowing.
Right. If we want to experience more, to see beyond our limited viewpoint, we need to develop that deeper level of listening.
Beyond our physical ears, into a deeper awareness.
So paying attention to those gut feelings, those intuitive flashes we often brush aside.
Yeah, being open to new ideas, questioning what we think we know, being willing to be surprised.
I love that, being open to surprise. And, another thing that really struck me was how Rashidi talks about language.
Oh, yeah, he's got a really interesting perspective on that.
He acknowledges its limitations, but he also seems to believe in its power, even if it's just to give us a glimpse of something bigger.
Like he's trying to point us in the right direction, even if he can't fully describe what's there.
Exactly. It's like those abstract paintings,
Oh, I see what you mean.
They don't necessarily represent anything specific, but they still evoke a feeling, an idea.
It's like that with language sometimes, trying to express those concepts that are beyond our everyday experience.
Like we're trying to fit these huge, complex ideas into these little boxes of words.
Yeah. But maybe it's more about embracing the mystery, allowing ourselves to be touched by something we can't fully explain.
I like that, embracing the mystery. It's not always about finding the perfect words, the perfect explanation.
It's more about the feeling, the experience.
So to everyone listening out there, what are your takeaways from Rashidi's journey? What resonated with you?
Have you ever had an experience that challenged your perception of reality, made you question what you thought you knew?
Share your thoughts with us online. Let's keep this conversation going. It's fascinating to hear different perspectives on all of this.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with one last thought to ponder.
Ooh, a final cliffhanger. I love it.
If consciousness is truly fundamental to reality, as Rashidi suggests, what responsibility do we have in shaping the world around us, both individually and collectively?
That's a powerful question to consider. It really makes you think about the impact our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions might have on the world.
It's a lot to ponder, but definitely worth the effort.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the nature of reality and perception. It's been a mind-bending exploration, and we're so grateful to have shared it with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep listening. Who knows what amazing insights you might discover?
And remember, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. So stay curious and keep those minds open to new possibilities.